How's it? Welcome back. So I had a question come in from someone who is having a hard time staying awake when meditating and listening to the Hemi-Sync tracks from the Monroe Institute. And so he wanted to know if I had any tips on things to help avoid that from happening. So here are 4 simple things you can try out. And now he was talking about specifically trying to stay awake when listening to Hemi-Sync, but these 4 tips would work perfectly fine if you were listening to some regular binaural beat type tracks, or listening to a guided meditation, or relaxing nature sounds, or even just meditating in silence. So the first one is to consider your body position. So like if he was falling asleep, I'm going to assume he was lying down or reclined on a couch or something like that. And so switch that up, right? And I would kind of get where he's coming from, because my preferred meditation position is to be lying down or reclined, mostly because I have like so much low back issues that if I'm in like the classic meditative position, like say sitting on the floor with no backrest, my back will start to bother me really quickly. And I've actually gotten like full on injured just from sitting. Like over the weekend, for example, we were watching the UFC fights with Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier. And so I was sitting for like, 3.5, 4 hours. And I basically injured my back doing that stupid shit. So be mindful of your position. The only really bad thing about lying down or being reclined is that it drastically increases the chances of you falling asleep. But then say if like sitting up, bothers you for whatever reason, kind of like it bothers me, well, then you could just turn it into a standing or walking meditation, while you're listening to the Hemi-Sync stuff. Another one you can do is intake some caffeine. Now that's a kind of fine line to walk. There will probably have to be some trial and error there to figure out what's the correct dose. Like enough caffeine to keep you awake, but not so much it makes your mind race or makes you feel jittery or something like that. But that's another thing you can try out. Another good one is to consider the time of day or night, I guess it is, that you're meditating, and try to meditate at a time where you're like really full-blown wide awake. Like a good example of this for me at least would be in the morning after I wake up at my normal wake-up time. I basically have like a super duper hard time falling asleep after that point. So, I could just slide that meditation in right then, and then I basically guarantee you won't fall asleep. And then the last one, and this is probably the best recommendation, at least seemingly the best recommendation in my head out of all of these, and that is just to stay really mentally engaged with the meditation experience, almost as if you're trying to notate the experiences, or like take note of what's happening, to not dream journal, but like meditation journal about it later. And then what you can even do is, as you're kind of going through that, but you're keeping this kind of mental perspective, or this lucid perspective of really actively witnessing what's going on and trying to retain it in memory, is that if you do feel like you're getting sleepy, then just exit out of the meditation really quick, jot down a few quick notes about it on a piece of paper or some on your phone or something, and then return back to the meditation. So that's a really good one. Now, I have heard a lot of people recommend totally against coming out of your meditations, just to kind of write shit down, kind of breaks up the whole flow of it. But if you're going to be using it as a way simply to stay awake and keep yourself from falling asleep, then I think that's a perfectly viable option there. So anyway, that's it. Hope that helped. And yeah, until the next video, keep your meditation practice legit.